Jeremy Peña will not be participating in the World Baseball Classic due to an injury. What will the ripple effects be?
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way, you can't hit it. Know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walk it back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
This episode is brought to you by MLB The Show 26. Welcome to Back to the Bullpen, where we have experience both on and off the field. And use the code Locked On when you visit MLBtheshow.com/LockedOn to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Available March 17th. Pre-order now on Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation 5. Rated E for everyone. Mike Stanton, let's talk about some baseball. We've got a lot going on around the globe. Games are actually going on while we're recording, so that's kind of fun. We'll talk about the WBC a little bit later, but jumping right into our first topic, the ripple effect of Jeremy Peña's injury, and then we're going to talk about the legend of Aaron Boone and will he catch Bobby Cox as the ejection leader in his career? Mike, good evening. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing well, but I'll tell you what, this is some devastating news for not just Team Dominican Republic that Jeremy Peña is out with a finger injury. There's some question, we'll get to that in a minute, about how severe the injury may be. But there's also a question of what this means for the Astros moving forward into, getting through spring training and into the regular season.
Yeah, exactly. And right off the bat, it's set off a firestorm. And, obviously social media is a firestorm, and and we all know that. And I think a lot of times they step off into the hornet's nest knowing
right.
It's stung. I got called unpatriotic because I was frustrated.
As you wear your USA hat?
I wear my USA hat. Apparently, I don't love my country enough because I was frustrated that another Houston Astro goes down with an injury. I mean, he's the fifth player in the last two World Baseball Classics that have either been injured while playing or indirectly, maybe after people attribute it to it. And there is a whole debate. Some people are like, you are so anti-baseball. He would have gotten hurt in spring training. And I get that.
Sure.
But man, I mean, there are people on both sides of the fence on this. And in a little bit, we'll talk about Perdomo and what he had to say. But right now, out of Astros camp, they say he has a fingertip fracture. He took a nasty hop on a ground ball during a game. And the Astros are now saying that he could possibly miss opening day, we're hearing.
Yeah, so what we heard, the information we have from the Astros is they're not even going to look at it, because originally we were hearing that he would be out for at least the first round, and then they would kind of reevaluate. That's a week, maybe 10 days. Well, from what we're hearing from the Astros is they've said that we're not even going to evaluate him again for 2 weeks, which means he's probably out for the World Baseball Classic. Because you also have to remember, having a fingertip issue, that means he can't really do a whole lot. I mean, he can hit some. Listen, he keeps himself in tremendous shape. That's really not a problem. Really the question is just how fast is he going to heal? It doesn't seem like it is an injury that's going to possibly take up, months and, a month or more, but you never really know because you don't know how quickly he's going to heal. So it's unfortunate for Team Dominican Republic because he's one of their shortstops. He was going to be a big part of their offense, even though they have a powerhouse offense. But it's just unfortunate that you got another player go down in this situation, and it just happens to be another Houston Astro.
Now, the ripple effect that we're talking about is Dana Brown and the Astros have still talked about moving Isaac Paredes. Well, now you can't really talk about moving him right now because the natural thing, you slide Carlos back to his original position.
Right.
put Paredes at third base. Even if it's a 2 or 3 week time period where he comes back maybe the first week of the season, now that changes everything and the leverage that they thought they had and going out and getting the left-handed bat. And so, Mike, this has got to change the chemistry of the conversation.
It could. And again, we don't really know what kind of conversations there are out there because, how do players get moved in spring training, especially guys that have pedigrees like Isaac Paredes does? It's probably going to take an injury on another team. Because everyone's kind of got their rosters set for the most part. There's always some battles and stuff like that. But, we heard, the Braves went down the Jerickson Profar situation. The rumor was they kind of almost immediately picked up the phone and called the Astros. And, this is one of those, even though, Paredes isn't an outfielder, but it's still another bat. It's, another, big league player that has a pedigree, that has a resume, and that can really hit. You kick the tires and see what you can do. Don't know if that conversation went anywhere, but this situation with Jeremy Peña can definitely at least put a damper on those conversations, just simply because you may need him yourself in Astros camp. So we don't know what's really going to happen. My personal opinion, just on the outside looking in, I think Jeremy is probably going to be ready for opening day. But, that's just my opinion. That and a couple dollars, you can get a cheeseburger at McDonald's. Other than that, it means nothing at all.
Man, I didn't know cheeseburgers were still $2. That's awesome. I'm going to have to go check those out. But I thought there was an interesting soundbite from one of his Dominican teammates.
Yeah.
Perdomo, who is with the Diamondbacks, he's been starting the games with the Dominican Republic, and he spoke to the media, and he in no uncertain terms said talking about, Jeremy Peña is fine. Really, what they don't want is for him to play, kind of insinuating that the Astros are not being honest and he's not really hurt. That's pretty big, Mike, to go out there and say that to the public media.
Listen, I see both sides of this. Now, not if someone's not telling the truth or something like that, but here's the crazy thing. This is Major League Baseball's baby. Okay. Right. And so all the organizations are going to toe the line. They're going to do everything they can to make it sound like they want all their players to play. But in reality, they don't want their players to play. Why would they? Why would they want to put them in harm's way? And I understand, and I agree with the idea. Well, they can get hurt in spring training just like they can anywhere else. But go back to the Jose Altuve situation in the last WBC. You had a guy on the mound that was throwing very hard, was probably throwing hard too early, didn't have command, hit Jose in the hand, and now all of a sudden that's it. He's out for several weeks and a good portion of the beginning of the season. So, that's that's worst case scenario. So these teams, in my opinion, again, this is my opinion, they don't want their players to play. Because the last thing they want to do is put up with some kind of situation that they get hurt, and now all of a sudden you have to make moves that you didn't want to make out of necessity, just simply because you had an injury that you weren't counting on.
And what's interesting here is you can enjoy the WBC and like watching the competition. I've been to a WBC game. I'm going this next Tuesday, Italy versus USA. But you can also, as a fan, be frustrated or be concerned that your player is out there and possibly could be prone to injury because,
sure,
baseball, it's all about injuries. And, we have seen that with the Houston Astros. We saw that with a lot of clubs last year. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to shift our focus in our next segment, and we're going to talk about not the king of ejections, but the runner-up of ejections all time in Major League Baseball. And will the ABS kill the manager versus the umpire arguing on the field? Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates that check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Back to the bullpen. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Let's talk basketball, hoops, college basketball. It's nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night, from early tip-off to the late-night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board, and now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with the college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want: rivalry games, ranked matchups, and more. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props and match how you see the slate playing out. You can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season long. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com and get started. That's FanDuel.com. Play your game. All right, we almost short-circuited there, and I think some of these umpires are going to short-circuit because, I mean, when you watch these games, Mike, they are using sometimes 9, 10, or 11 challenges in winning almost all of them. So you get 2, but it's almost unlimited if you are successful.
True.
Now, with the ABS system, how does that change the game?
Well, I mean, we've already seen in spring training this year, in one of the earlier games, I think it was a Yankees game, that the Yankees, they challenged 7 different pitches and won 6 of them. The crazy thing was, at one point, it was 3 in a row. There was 3 pitches in a row, and the Yankees won all 3. They were all turned over. So, the umpires are still going to make mistakes. I don't think it's going to change hardly at all, because you have to now, if the ABS system is taking over completely and they're calling every ball and strike, okay, now there's really no argument. But now that we're on a challenge system, yeah, you can challenge. What happens if you're out of challenges? What happens if it's earlier in the game and you really don't want to use a challenge, but you really feel like you should because the call was so egregious, but, it was maybe a little bit on the borderline, but there's so many different ways. And the interesting thing is the umpires are saying, listen, we're still going to kick dudes out. Guys still, managers still need to vent. Players still need to vent. They're still going to say things they probably shouldn't say in the heat of the moment, and they're going to get run. But, most of the time, the person that's getting run is the managers. And the guy that has been the most egregious lately has been Aaron Boone. He takes up for his players very strongly. He's screaming at the umpires all the time. That's not going to change. That's just who he is. Okay. Now he's not leading the league right now as far as active managers. Number 1 is actually Tito Francona. The crazy thing is Tito's done it in 24 years. Aaron Boone is just a few, I think, 8 behind in 8 years. So it's a much, much higher rate. But listen, there's still going to be conflicts, boundary calls, interference calls, replay calls. There's still going to be plenty of things for the umpires and the managers to argue about and eventually get run out of the game.
Well, I remember when Aaron Boone was thrown out for something a fan said behind him. He didn't even say anything.
Yes.
We've seen Aaron Boone bang the top of the dugout with a bat.
It's entertainment, man. It's theater. Yeah. It's awesome.
We've heard him say, "My guys are savages in the box."
Savage. That was awesome.
This is what I'm waiting for: the umpire to throw his arms up and go, "Why am I even here?"
Have one of the other umpires throw that umpire out for saying something you shouldn't say.
Hey, it's almost like, you're in a courtroom and you're on the stand and everything you say, they're like objection,
Right.
sustained. What? Like, I couldn't imagine being in that situation. But seriously, the umpires probably are having conversations amongst themselves because they have this umpire crew. They have the person that's in charge, the head umpire, and they've got to set that tone early because these players are going to challenge quite a bit. I mean, players are challenging so much and so confidently that they're literally putting their bat down and taking their helmet off and walking to first, knowing that was ball 4.
Yeah, and you know what? It really shows how remarkable the eyes of a lot of these baseball players are. That
Right.
You got a pitch that's 95 miles an hour and it's an inch and a quarter off the plate, and they know it's an inch and a quarter off the plate. They're tapping their head, and that's it. It gets overturned. I mean, I think it also shows the human side of this with the umpires. And, the last thing you want the umpire doing is thinking about this kind of stuff because, anytime you start thinking about something, a lot of times you end up getting, even more wrong. You start second guessing yourself. And so, there's still going to be some growing pains, but there's still going to be plenty of opportunity for everyone to yell and scream at each other, call each other names, and eventually get run out of the game. So we may see a slight drop in the number of ejections, but I don't think it's going to be a big thing because listen, the managers that get run the most, it's just who they are. They're going to complain. They're taking up for their team. They're trying to motivate their players. Every ejection isn't always about, calling the umpire a dog. A lot of it, sometimes it's just about trying to motivate your team and get your team fired up because you're playing behind or just not playing good baseball today.
Exactly. One of my favorite quotes from this article from The Athletic was from Red Sox manager Alex Cora, and he literally named Laz Diaz. And I want to show everybody the quote here. He says, "I'll get thrown out somehow, some way. Laz Diaz will throw me out." So managers have certain guys that they know that they're going to have issues with. Aaron Boone said, "Oh, I'll still get ejected. I'm actually trying not to get ejected.
He's trying to be a good boy.
To get ejected less, but I'll still get ejected."
Yeah.
I was ejected in one little league game, and I was so proud of getting ejected. I called my father, and my father said, "Great job, son." So he was like, I was like, "You need to take me to dinner, Dad." Yeah. He goes, "Why'd you get thrown out?" I said, "I just told the guy he blew a call. It was a second inning in a row. It was a little league game. The first baseman caught the ball and dropped it. They called the guy safe. I lost my mind, and I started to walk off, and I didn't cuss at him, but I did say this, and I turned around and I said, one more thing. I said, I just want you to know that everybody out here in the stands sees the same thing that you see when you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror." He said, "What's that?" I said, "An incompetent umpire," and I walked off.
Yeah. So the article we're talking about is in The Athletic. It's by Jason Stark, and it's a very good article, and it's fun. It talks about Bobby Cox having 162 ejections. Aaron Boone actually says the one thing that he does know is he will not catch Bobby Cox. Well, I mean, it depends on how long he manages, and if he continues to get run at the same rate that he's well short, obviously still over 100, but to do what he's done. What is it? 46 ejections in just 8 years is pretty incredible. So, the great manager Grady Little, who was my manager a couple times in the minor leagues, we kind of followed each other through the minor leagues, and yes, it's that Grady Little, the Pedro Martinez situation in the playoffs. Where he didn't take Pedro out, and Pedro kind of threw him under the bus, saying it's the manager's decision, when in reality, Pedro kind of talked him into staying in the game. Anyways, so we're in the Appalachian League. It's short season rookie ball, which no longer exists. That's a story for another time.
It is.
He said before the game, he said that, he just didn't want to be there today. So he goes, I'm going to get run early in this game. Yeah, right, Grady, whatever you say. He goes out and he tells, there's a close call. He goes out and he didn't yell and scream. And he said one thing, and he said one thing only, and it got him run. He goes, that was a rookie ball call by a rookie ball umpire, and you will never be anything more. Go to the showers. Grady, you're done. That's all it took.
I love it. That is awesome. Yeah, we will definitely not lose that part of the game, and that's good. No. And one thing we are going to do in our last segment, we're going to talk about some top performers from Team Korea in their first win in the World Baseball Classic, and share with y'all the full slate of games that will happen on Friday in the World Baseball Classic from coast to coast. We've been talking all week about the World Baseball Classic, and this week's MLB Top 100 highlight is brought to you by MLB The Show 26, the latest from the beloved video game franchise. Each week, we're highlighting the stars of MLB's Top 100 player list, the elite names you'll be controlling, building around, and going head-to-head with on MLB The Show. This week, we're spotlighting Bobby Witt Jr., ranked number 4 in MLB's Top 100. He's part of Team USA. He's part of the Kansas City Royals and one of the stars of today and tomorrow. The power, the command, and the glove. And what's amazing is you can get that same dominance because it shows up in MLB The Show 26 with upgraded ratings, animations, and improved gameplay feel. If you love talking baseball, you'll love playing it even more. Visit MLBtheshow.com/lockedon and use the code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Internet connection required. Pre-order now. Available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Nintendo Switch. Rated E for everyone. And make sure you don't forget to join the Everydayer Club. If you like this show, you can get this show ad-free by joining the Everydayer Club. And not only that, you get access to a Discord server where you can talk it up with myself, with Soli, and fans across the country. So if you're interested in that, we would love for you to join us. LockedOnPodcast.com/everydayer. Join today. Yeah, so let's get into this. Yesterday, Korea beat Czechia 11-4. They banged out 4 home runs, 10 hits on the 11 runs. Mm-hmm. Shea Whitcomb of the Houston Astros, 2 for 4 with 2 home runs and 3 RBI. And then another slugger for them, Boo Young Moon. He went 2 for 3, a home run, a hit by pitch, scored 5 runs. I mean,
have a day.
Some pretty good days there. And as we're recording, Czechia is down 3-1 to Australia. If you want to see an update, just go to worldbaseballclassic.com for that update. But Mike, we're going to see this. We're going to see some home runs that will be launched. There will be quite a few home runs in this World Baseball Classic.
Some great hitters. There's no doubt about it. And, the question is, where are the pitchers in relation to the great hitters? And especially in this first round, the hitters may be a little bit more advanced because you got to remember there's only a 65 pitch count that these guys can throw. The relievers, they have to throw less than 30 and they can go back-to-back days, or they have to take more time off if they go over that. I mean, there's some rules that are in place to try and keep these guys healthy. So there's going to be, the hitters are going to catch some balls out in front. They're going to drive it out of the ballpark. I mean, that's what a lot of the scoring is done in Major League Baseball now anyways. But you have to remember, especially with some of these teams that, don't have just, Major League players all over the place, whether they're minor league players or they play in a different league around the world, they're probably going to make a few more mistakes, and these hitters are going to be able to capitalize on those mistakes. So I think once we get a little bit later in the tournament, the pitchers will catch up a little bit more, and the offense very well may go down a little bit. But I think in this first round, there could be a lot of runs scored.
Hey, if you look at that game, Korea versus Czechia, 13 pitchers. between both teams.
Yeah.
And at first, I was like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of pitchers. And then I remembered we talked about,
Right.
and you just mentioned the pitch count. And for those of y'all who maybe aren't aware, look, maybe you watch baseball and you don't think about that because that's not something you talk about in the regular season of a major league game because most guys are going, 65 to 100 pitches, depending on where they are. But you're not thinking about necessarily pitch count limited like it is. And when we first started mentioning it, it reminded me of Little League. So if you're listening or you're part of our viewing audience and you have a Little Leaguer, you know about the pitch counts, and it's limited for a reason. Because this is a tournament, it is for a short period of time, and they are going to have certain starters that if they start game one, they probably won't pitch as a starter until a quarterfinal if they make it. So you'll get to see these guys one time around. But Friday is going to be a fun day, Mike, because Friday there is going to be games from 12 noon until 9 p.m. all day. And we are going to cover our face if you are watching.
Yeah.
Because I want you to see, you can see FS1, FS2, Tubi, and Fox. And they will have pitching matchups, notable guys going out on the mound. Logan Webb for Team USA at 8 p.m. Suarez going for Venezuela at 12 noon on Tubi. But I mean, you can go to worldbaseballclassic.com and see all of the listings for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really zealous and want to see this, so you can see it starts at 5 a.m. in Japan. And then it just works its way all the way through the day. So pretty cool. Thank you to Fox for airing all of this and on all the different Fox channels that they have. So listen, it's going to be a good day. It's going to be fun to watch. But you saw, was it 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central here in Houston? Yes. That's the USA team taking on Team Brazil. So I'm sure that will be watched very heavily on a Friday night.
A really cool thing, if you're going to Dyken Park, they're going to have food from around the world for the countries that are in.
Awesome.
So they will have now. I'm not saying it's going to be cheap to eat food, but it'll hopefully. I mean, it looks in the one game.
But you didn't taste it at all, did you? You didn't sample anything. No,
I haven't sampled anything. I probably will Tuesday. I'll look for some good Italian food. But this is going to be fun. When we get back together on Sunday. To talk about everything that's happened, we'll have quite a bit to talk about. But there's a name, a former MVP who has signed a minor league deal. I didn't know that he was going to be playing this year. Yeah,
that player would be Andrew McCutchen. He signed it with our friends just north of us, the Texas Rangers. It's a minor league deal. So if he makes the team, obviously they'll turn into a big league deal. I was just looking at his numbers, and I don't think Andrew McCutchen is going to be a Hall of Famer, but he has been a very, very good player for a long time. And, you can always use a little bit more of a veteran voice. So it'll be interesting to see how well he plays here in spring training, if he can make that roster. But there is never, through all the years he's been playing, and I think he started back in 2009, I do not remember anyone saying an ill word about Andrew McCutchen. Nothing but good stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what he looks like. He's still fast. He can still hit. He can still play, and there's still some value of him off the field because of all the experience.
Well, this is a guy that was Mr. Pittsburgh Pirate himself.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he really, he was one of those guys that stuck with his team. Yeah. You think of players in the modern game like Mike Trout that have stuck with their teams, whether they have success or not. And so that's definitely something.
We got to remember, he's a former MVP. Okay,
Right.
he's actually 3 times has been top 5 in the MVP. So, this is the kind of guy you love to root for. This is, here in Houston, this is Jose Altuve. Not a big guy, but can drive the ball out of the ballpark, can steal bases. He could do just about anything on the baseball field he wanted to. He's 39 years old now. But that doesn't mean he can't still play. That doesn't mean there's still value. So I wish him all the luck, because I think that, to have somebody like this in Major League Baseball and just to have the story, I think it makes the game, it makes the league better.
Yeah, definitely. And his presence, like you mentioned, that is second to none. The low risk, high reward type of move.
Yeah.
That's what this is. And that's what Major League Baseball is about, is making your roster deep so that you have guys there that can pick you up when you need. And even if he's there in the minor leagues with them and something happens and you can bring him up, that could be a shot in the arm, a boost. But you know what? This has been great talking World Baseball Classic, talking Jeremy Peña, Aaron Boone, the great getting thrown out of the game manager that he is, and, mentioning Kutch and also Shea Whitcomb. Great job. So y'all have a good one. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the heck out of this World Baseball Classic, because it is fun. And so from myself, from everybody here at Back to the Bullpen, y'all have a good one.
Adios.